over the past year or two, I have been going through the Firefly books. They have made novels. They wrote novels in concert with Joss Whedon, and all of these books feel like a genuine further episode to the show, which has been so much fun. And there were 9 of these books that have been published, and now with the new announcement that just came out that they're doing a animated TV show for the Firefly universe, I thought, this is the perfect time. It had been on my list. I've been meaning to do this video and talk about all of the books, the Firefly novels that have come out, and what I thought about them and how I rated them. So let's do that. And it's very exciting because I did love these books. I feel like it was genuinely like watching a new episode of the show, and the characters were so much fun. I really, really enjoyed all of these books. I will say I did not read them in order of when they were published. I just read them in a random order. So, I'm going to go through them with you in order for when they were published and when... like that way. We're going to go 1 to 9, but I did not read them in order. So the reviews might be all over the place. So it's fine, but it's fine. Here we go. Okay, so book number 1 for this series is Big Damn Hero. I don't think I can probably show that. Big Damn Hero. That was the first one. That was the first cover. It's looking fun. It's looking good. So lots of fun. So basically this book, what is it about? What I noticed with these books is that we get a lot more, because you look inside someone's head, you get a lot more character insights. And I love that so much. It was so much fun. Okay, so Big Damn Hero. And this one was written by James Lovegrove and Nancy Holder. So the Battle of Serenity Valley was the turning point that led the Independents to their defeat at the hands of the Alliance. Yet the Browncoats had held their valley for weeks against all odds. Before being ordered to lay down their arms, command stated they refused to send in air power because the ground war was too hot. But the soldiers who were there insist it was not true. So that's background on the war. While picking up new cargo on Persephone, Captain Malcolm Reynolds is kidnapped by a bunch of embittered veteran browncoats who suspect him of sabotaging the Independents during the war. As the result of the crew struggling to locate him, Mal is placed on trial for his life, fighting compelling evidence that someone did indeed betray them to the Alliance all those years ago. As old comrades and old rivals crawl out of the woodwork, Mal must prove his innocence, but his captors are desperate and destitute and will settle for nothing less than the culprit's blood. I do remember this book, and I had a lot of fun learning a bit about Malcolm's background, things like that. So I rated this book 4 stars. And here's my review. I had more fun reading this than I thought I would. I really enjoyed the show Firefly, and this really did feel like it could have been another episode. This sounds like it was one of my first ones I read. I would have loved to watch this episode. I thought it was really well done. The characters felt pretty close to the show. We got some insight into each one's perspective. I normally don't like jumping around too much to too many characters in a book, but this was done really well. I really enjoyed seeing all the characters in what they got up to. There was almost a plot A and plot B element to this, but all the plots converged into the same spot. I really enjoyed that. I thought this was a great story, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the books look like. So it does sound like that was indeed my first book that I read from this series. So that's really fun. Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this book a lot. Okay, the next book is The Magnificent 9. Look, it's Jane on the cover. There you go, Magnificent 9. Hooray. So, this one, we get a little bit more about Jane. How fun. Okay. An old flame of Jane Cobb's, Temperance McLeod, sends a message to Serenity, begging him for help. She lives on the arid, far-flung world of Tethys, and bandits are trying to overrun her town to gain control of the water supply. The only thing standing between its people and a Dust Bowl ruin. Jane tries to persuade the crew of Serenity to join the fight, but it's only when he offers Vera his favorite gun as collateral that Mal realizes he's serious. When the Serenity crew land at the hard-scrabble desert outpost called Kogan's Bluff, they discover 2 things. An outlaw gang with almost fanatical devotion to their leadership who will stop at nothing to get what they want, and that Temperance is single-handedly raising a teenage daughter, born less than a year after Temperance and Jane broke up, a daughter by the name of Jane McLeod. This book was so fun. I enjoyed this. I think Jane is such such an interesting character. I rated this 4 stars as well. Really interesting look into the background of Jane, but also another Firefly story. I thought the plot was quite good and enjoyed seeing this different side of Jane. Even though we got a little bit of it in an episode on the show, this was a little bit of a different look as well. The interactions between him and Temperance were really good, and I quite enjoyed where everything went. I wish I'd known about some of the content warnings beforehand, but I will say that they didn't go too far into descriptive things that I couldn't enjoy the book as a whole. There is essay in this book, and if that's something that you worry about, that's what that was talking about in that review. Still, it was a good book, and like I said in the review, it wasn't in huge amounts of detail, so that meant it was doable for me. Overall, the book was really fun. Okay. Book number 3. How fun. I would show you the real covers because I own most of these books, but they're packed away at the moment, so I don't have them, so you're going to have to do with this. Book number 3 is called The Ghost Machine. You've got River on the top there. You also have Mal. Some really fun stuff happens in this book, so I'm really excited. I wasn't sure about this one because I don't do ghosts, but it's a bit different than it sounds. Okay, here we go. The Ghost Machine. I have also not been telling you who wrote the other books. This one's written by James Lovegrove, and the Magnificent 9 was written by also James Lovegrove. He wrote a bunch of them, I think. Okay, so The Ghost Machine. Mal and the crew take receipt of a sealed crate which they are being paid to transport to Badger. No questions asked. Badger. Please. We don't like him. Although, he's amusing. Yet, once the cargo is safely stowed aboard, River insists Mal should space it out of the airlock, for it contains, she insists, ghosts. With supplies running low and the crew desperately needing another payday, but soon find themselves paralyzed by hallucinations of their deepest hopes and desires, so vivid they cannot be distinguished from reality. River is the only one unaffected and desperately tries to awaken her crewmates while the fantasies turn sour and the ship begins to spin out of control. This was a really fun book. I really liked this a lot, actually. 4 stars again. Really enjoyed this one. It was almost like life the way it could have been for all the characters. Quite interesting. I gave you a look into what could explain some of their backgrounds and why some of them could be the way that they are. Not everything, but it was quite authentic to the show. So some of the clear links between the show and the movie, I really appreciated a lot of what we saw in this story in that regard. I think there was some links to some things that had plot points that had happened. And so that was really fun. All right, book 4 out of 9. Here we go. All right, this is called Generations, and it is by Tim Leben. So here we go. Generations, a mysterious star map, an outer rim moon. Captain Malcolm Reynolds ends a card game, the lucky winner of an old map covered in mysterious symbols. The former owner insists it's worthless, but back on Serenity, River Tam is able to interpret it. An ancient legend, River claims the map points to the way of the Arks, legendary generation ships that brought humans from Earth that was to the verse. The salvage potential alone is staggering. As the crew approach the aged ship floating, they find it isn't quite as dead as it first seemed. The closer we get, the more agitated River becomes. She claims something is waiting on board, something powerful and very angry. Another 4 stars for this book. Another fun adventure with Firefly characters. This one had a little bit of mystery to it and a lot more insight into some of the River aspects of the show. The treasure map mixed with psychotic killers, that was this book. Another great storyline that would have been a good episode to watch, but easy to imagine the characters as I listened to the audiobook. I should also say most of these I listened to the audiobook. Sometimes I was reading along, other times I was just listening, and it was really, really fun. I loved doing that. I thought that was really great. The next one is called Life Signs, and we have Inara on the front there with some other people. So are you ready for Life Signs? Now this one is a bit emotional, but it's okay, don't worry. Months after Inara leaves Serenity, Mal and the crew finally learn the reason for her sudden departure. She is dying of a terminal illness. It is Kel's myeloma, a form of cancer that's supposedly incurable, and Inara has very little time left. Through their shock and despair, rumors of a cure reach the crew. Expert Esau Wang is said to have just developed a means to treat Inara's condition, but he has been disgraced and incarcerated for life on a notorious Alliance prison planet. On the planet of Atar. Ata. Inmates are abandoned with no guards and left to survive as best they can. What's more, terraforming the planet did not take properly, so the world is a frozen wasteland. To save Inara, the Serenity crew must infiltrate the prison. Oh my goodness, this one was really very intense, actually. 3 stars for this book. Prison break on a frozen planet and a crew desperate to save a loved one. Who could want anything else? I will say the POV of a wolf was an unusual choice, but it did well in the story. I felt the plot sort of came out of nowhere with Inara, but I was okay with it. Carried quite well across, and I was pretty happy with the plot progression and where things ended. It did feel a little bit out of the blue, but it's okay. All right. We're on book 6 of 9, so there's still 4 left. So we have... This one is called Carnival. Oh, sorry. And look, we've got Zoe and Shepherd book on the front. Okay, here we go. Neapolis, a desert city on the planet Bethel where all manner of entertainment can be found. High-stakes gambling, luxurious hotels, exclusive clubs, and any form of diversion imaginable may be had for a price. It's the eve of the annual carnival, 3 days of decadent revelry, and Serenity arrives to take a security job guarding a costly shipment. Tragedy strikes, the shipment stolen, and the wealthy owner kidnaps Zoe and Book, holding them ransom for the lost shipment's value. If Mal can't find the enormous sum of 500 platinum by next evening, both of them will be killed. As the carnival begins, the crew must attempt the impossible, calling on contacts, calling in favors, and revealing hidden talents to save their crewmates' lives. Meanwhile, the hostages have their own plans. So fun. All right, this was also a 3-star. Now, are you ready? Written very well, but there was an awful lot of information about a random character that we will never see again. Her POV, which did link into the story, took a while to finally get there. When the mini plots all combined, it was really good. I love seeing characters as always, and overall it was a good story. I just could have done without the little girl character that we seem to get a lot of in the first half or so of this book. And that one was written by Una McCormick. That was A Carnival, and number 6. Okay, so here we go. Book number 7. We only have 3 left. We have What Makes Us Mighty. We have Kaylee on there as the big one, by MK England. All right, so What Makes Us Mighty. Serenity is bound for the planet Kerry with a hold full of sealed, unidentified cargo for the planet's highest-ranking nobleman. The Duke is a surprisingly genial man whose court brings all the fancies and fun of Persephone's high society, but little of the pretension, and most importantly, he has the promise of more work. Obliged to stick around while Inara is with a client and hoping to score future employment, the crew settles in. Liquor flows freely at court. There's food, entertainment, and comfortable lodgings. Everyone's thrilled but Zoe. Her gut says something is off. When the Duke's estate is attacked in the middle of the night, Mal sends Serenity to safety while he and Zoe investigate. What they find turns the whole story of Kerry upside down. Revolution is brewing, and each of them will have to decide where they make their stand, even if it lands them on opposite sides. All right, 3 stars for this book. As always, love to see the crew again in a story. Felt like it did fit into the universe, but it was heavy on the feminism. Very heavy. I saw what they were trying to do and how they were choosing to write the story, but it did bring me out of the story when the feminism ideology was slammed into my face every so often. I love a strong female character, but this one was literally every guy equals bad, stupid, and woman equals stronger, smarter. It felt unbalanced. I did enjoy the story on the whole, and it is always good to see the characters back at it. Sometimes when some of these sort of value things are in place and they're done like that and they're really heavy-handed, can take you out of the story. All right, book 8. We're very close to the end. Okay, book 8 is Coup de Grace. There it is. You got that one there. And that's by Una McCormick. We had a few people who doubled up and did a couple of these different books. And I think that makes sense, especially if you're going to get the right voice for all these characters. The Serenity crew head to Yell City, one of the settlements on Able, a moon in the rim. Their job? Track down the killers of a local lawyer shot dead in the streets by a gang. The client is Annie Roberts, the 18-year-old daughter of the murdered man. Lucky for them, Annie is more than capable of handling herself. Unlucky for them, the job is a lot more complicated than they think. Annie's father is not just the victim of local gang violence, but the target of some powerful men. Taking down the local gang is one thing, but cleaning up the whole city, that's not a job for the Serenity crew. But when their ship is impounded and Mal and the crew find themselves trapped, they realize they are already in deeper than they could have ever imagined. This was a very interesting one. We did get a lot of a POV from this lady Annie, with this 18-year-old Annie. So 3 stars. I liked it, but it felt like it was different than some of the other books. I'm not sure why, but there was a lot of the POV of a character that isn't in the Firefly crew, so maybe that was why. Still a fun read, and of course, love to see another episodic style story. Thinking about this later and remembering, I do think it was because we did get a lot of that POV of that character that doesn't really have much to do with the crew. And, you know, it was okay. It was very, it gave like a Wild West sort of an idea, which, you know, a bunch of these books do. Okay, the last and final book. Are you ready? It is called Aim to Misbehave. There you go. Aim to Misbehave, the final book of Firefly, and that's written by Rosie Thor. It all started with the geese. This is actually, I think, the last one I read as well. The Firefly crew is eager to get paid for their latest job, but when the payment arrives as a gaggle of geese instead of purse, their stay on the planet, Brom, gets an indefinite extension. It don't matter that the geese will fetch a pretty penny once they get somewhere to sell them. Without coin, they can't buy fuel, and without fuel, they can't get off world. Serenity is stuck. Lucky, the foreman of the local fuel refinery, Lyle Horn, wants to hire them, but not to work in the factory. A philanthropic authority known as the Governess has been kidnapping his workers. Lyle's fixing to get them back with the help of Mal and his crew. Only trouble is Lyle's got a mysterious past with Shepherd Book, one that the preacher ain't too keen to talk about. It's literally written that way. Out of options and out of time, they launch a 3-pronged plan. Mal will break into the fortress of the estate to retrieve the workers. Inara and Simon will pose as potential donors to the charity as a distraction, and Jane will stay behind to keep an eye on Lyle. But things never go down smooth, and soon the crew finds they have more than a few geese running amok on Serenity. So this one I gave 4 stars, okay? Always reading like an episode of Firefly, this story was no exception. I really enjoyed seeing a little bit more into the shepherd's background, and the geese were a fun touch. Getting River's point of view was also nice in this one as well. That is the only information I had on that. I didn't do super in-depth reviews about these books. I think, I don't really know why, but I do know that it did just genuinely feel like another episode of the TV show. Every book I read, I loved seeing the characters. I loved seeing them doing something. I love the TV show Firefly. It's so much fun, and this was really a great sort of extension of that. I had a great time doing that, and I'm sure that when the cartoon adaptation comes out, I'll probably end up watching that too, because why not? Yeah. So there you go. Those are the novels for Firefly. If you have read them, let me know what you thought about them. And if you haven't, please go check them out because they are really, really, really fun. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the adventures.